Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Let it be a wonderful Shabbat. Looking forward to celebrating a Bar Mitzvah here at the Bayit, and Sunday to the Hebrew Free Burial Association breakfast. So it should be a weekend of mitzvot and chesed for all. Today is Pesach Sheni, 5783, and I wanted to share a thought about the backstory and the message of Pesach Sheni. This story comes up in Parashat Beha'alotcha, which we're still a few weeks away from reading, in Numbers chapter 9, a story we may know when the Jewish people are getting ready to celebrate their first Pesach in the wilderness, the second Pesach, of course, and a number of people who are unable to offer the Korban Pesach because they are tamei, they've come in contact with something which renders them ritually impure, come to Moshe with a profound question. Vayomeru hanashim ha'ema elav, anachnu tmeim lenefesh adam. These people approach Moshe and they say to him, we are ritually impure, we came in contact with the dead. Lama nigara levilti hakriv et korban Hashem b'moado betoch b'nei Yisrael. Why should our opportunity to offer a sacrifice, lahakriv, to bring something near, and in so doing bring ourselves near to God, at the appointed time for this korban and for this observance, in the midst of the Jewish people, betoch b'nei Yisrael, as a part of community, why should our opportunity for that be lessened? Lama nigara. This is a key phrase which comes up again in the claim of the daughters of Tzilafchad, and it's a call for religious opportunity, religious participation, the deep inset desire to participate fully in religious life together with community. And I think it shows us a great moment of religious motivation and connectedness. And the back history of this particular word choice and this claim is worth investigating. Lama nigara. They could have said it in so many ways. We want to participate, please give us a chance. But they ask, why should our place, our opportunity be lessened? Lama nigara. And we could read it in different kind of tones. And I think the tone we read it in may be influenced by the first three places where this shoresh, where this root appears in the Torah. It comes up a couple times closer to Beha'alotcha in different legal contexts. But the first appearance, in fact, the first three appearances of this root are back in Exodus, in Shemot chapter 5. It's there when Moshe is arriving in Egypt and beginning to play his role in the liberation of the Jewish people. Right before that role really gets going in a serious way, Paro gives a new instruction, a new regulation about the servitude, the enslavement of Bnei Israel. And he says in verse 5, in verse 6, to the taskmasters and the foremen who are mandated to oversee the slave labor of Bnei Israel, and says, Lo tosifun latet teven la'am lilbon halevinim kitmol shelshom. You're no longer going to give the people the straw for making the bricks for their building projects. Hem yelechu v'kosheshu lahem teven. They're going to have to go out themselves and gather the straw. But but even though they now have a whole extra project going to get the straw themselves to make the bricks, but still the quota that they have of bricks, lo tigreu mimenu, don't lessen it. And the Torah goes out of its way to then repeat when the taskmasters and foremen carry this message forward from Paro to the Jewish people. It repeats that instruction. Ein nigra me'avodatchem davar. Your servitude, your labor must not be lessened at all, even though you have this additional responsibility of gathering the straw yourselves. And it's mentioned even a third time when we're told how difficult that was for those who were overseeing the labor of the Israelites to actually follow through on making sure that they met the quota when they had this overwhelming additional task of gathering the straw themselves. And so the first encounter with not lessening, with lo nigra and lo tigra, is in the context of service, avodah, but it's the slave labor, it's the backbreaking work that the Israelites were compelled to do, oppressed to do in Mitzrayim, and told that they could not lessen it. And then, just literally a year later or so, upon their liberation and now going free as a free people, going from being the Avdei Paro, the servants of Paro, to Ovdei Hashem, servants and worshipers of God, that instinct that Paro harshly instituted transforms. And it goes from a compulsion and requirement from an evil overlord telling them not to lessen their service to an internalized, transformed, religiously motivated desire because of a relationship with, God willing, a benevolent, loving, compassionate God, that the people then turn to Moshe and say, Lama nigara? Not, why is it that we have to not do less from a perspective of slave labor, but we don't want to be diminished in our opportunities, our privileges to serve God. And so it's so striking that it's particularly about a mitzvah of commemorating the exodus from slavery that the Jewish people express that desire of wanting to do more. And I offer us the tefillah, that it be, and the bracha, that it be a Shabbat in which we reflect on our religious service. When do we feel compelled? When do we feel it as an opportunity and a privilege? What are the mitzvot about which we say, Lama nigara? Why should we be lessened in our service? We want to do more. What are the mitzvot or the realities of our Jewish lives in which we struggle to be able to articulate that? And appreciating the way in which the Jewish people were transforming an experience of compelled slave labor to a place of deep desire not to do less, but to always be able to do more in their service of God. Shabbat Shalom.